the changeover, but anyway.
We are now live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Google Hangout on air for Edcamp Home 3.0. My name is Paula Novel, and I am a fourth grade teacher in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I wrote a session called Global Collaboration for Elementary Ed Students, not knowing that I was going to facilitate.
We are now live.
Oh, we're not now live? Hello, everyone, and welcome to...
There's a delay. If someone has the YouTube open, just
you gotta
mute it or exit out.
My name is Paula Novel. That was me. And I am... Oh, that was me. Okay, here we go. So anyhow, I didn't realize that I was going to be the facilitator when I put the suggestion up, but I don't mind that. And then I asked my good friend Bill Krakauer from New Jersey to go ahead and run the Google on air because he's got more expertise at that. So, Amy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Amy Supize. I tried to, my lower third went away again, but I'll give it up. And I teach fourth grade in San Antonio, Texas.
Ah, we're neighbors.
Yep.
And do we have, does Brian have, is he all the way in? Partially in? Does he have sound? Brian, can you hear us? Okay, maybe not. All right. Amy,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Bill, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Bill Krakauer. Billy Krakauer, whichever you prefer. I've been working with Paula for the past 3 years now on different global collaboration projects, and she asked me to help her out, so I'm here to help her out.
Yay.
I'm going to try and invite Brian in again.
I don't know what's happening. Okay. Well, anyhow, we'll let Brian introduce himself when he gets fully into the hangout. So anyhow, Billy and I have liked doing collaborative projects. We are kind of like semi-experts on mystery location calls, which some people call mystery Skype calls, but we changed the name of that since we now use both Skype and Google Hangout. It's an easy way to get started with collaborations over the United States, parts of Canada, down into Mexico and Central America that fall into your time zones. One way, an hour, one way or the other, seems to work the best. The best way to find connections, of course, is to be a connected educator. And the best way that we find to be a connected educator is through Twitter. So, Amy, what do you do? How do you get connected?
Well, this has been a year-long kind of learning process for me. Last year, I taught fifth grade, and I did Global Read Aloud last year, so I connected with a class in Wisconsin through Edmodo and a class in North Carolina with KidBlog. And then I got to do Mystery Skype with Pernell Rip with her class, which was really, really cool. And my class really embraced it and did very, very well. We only got to do one because we kind of did it near the end of the year, and so there wasn't a lot of time. I tried to set up another one, but I couldn't quite get it done. And then, so I'm trying to do the same thing for next year. Is that Brian?
Okay. What do we find are the biggest roadblocks to getting our students globally connected? Is it your admin's not on board, your parents are a little nervous, you're missing the tech to do it? What kinds of things are happening?
I don't really have any roadblocks.
Yay, that's good.
I can do, we kind of are invited to do what we want. We have lots of technology support. It's really just kind of up to us. I guess the main roadblock would be knowing about it. I'm kind of the spearheader of mystery Skyping and just Skyping in general on my campus. I'm teaching a class in my district at the end of the month about it, just to kind of try to spread the word. There was one other teacher who did, she's a dual language teacher, and she did a connection in Chile, a connection in Venezuela, to get her students some language partners to speak, Spanish with them, which was really cool. So that's me.
One of the things that I have found is over the years, I've been doing a lot of this since about 2009, And I just kind of did it. It's like don't ask, don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness after you get caught. So after I had done it for a while, I finally started inviting my admin into the room so that, when we were doing mystery Skype calls or mystery location calls, she could see what was going on. And she wasn't 100% on board with it because when we got closer to testing, she said, "You're not going to be doing any more of those Skype calls, are you?"
Right.
So it's hard, and unless they've done it in their own classroom, it's kind of hard to sell them on it sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think once they see it in action, it really makes them feel better. The parents, again, I send out kind of a very generic permission slip at the end of the year, at the beginning of the year, saying I use a lot of tech, and this is, what I'm going to be doing, and hopefully you're on board with it. And I think they just sign it because they're not even sure what I'm talking about. Right. So, I know, Bill, you've had a couple of issues with you had Skype blocked at one time, didn't you?
I had Skype blocked. I've had Google Hangouts blocked. Noticed I have a hotspot that works very well. And I've gone through those issues and was able now that I have everything unblocked because I demonstrated the power of it and the relativity of why we need to use it in the classroom.
That's great.
That was something I was fortunate in, is that Skype and Google Hangouts were both open to me. I can't do a Google on air, though, because unfortunately YouTube is blocked, so I can't record any of the things that we do through Google Hangouts. But, it is what it is. I have my kids videotape and take photos, and we blog about it, and so we can share it that way, But
I had a student who recorded ours. Like when we did one of the mystery Skypes, she was very skilled in iMovie, and so she took one of my iPads and she recorded the whole thing, and then she made me an iMovie out of it later, which was kind of cool. My favorite, actually, it wasn't a mystery Skype, but we did for national parks. I don't know if you've gone on Skype in the classroom and just look for different events that are already set up, but we did the one with the National Park Ranger at Yellowstone. I don't know if they have more than one, but the guy who did our session was brilliant. I mean, he was so prepared, and the kids, he'd ask, what animals do you think we have here? And they'd mention just some random animal, and any animal they mentioned, he happened to have paper or a skull or a bone or a feather or, something from every animal that they could think of that were just, random things that they'd come up with, and that was a really very, very cool one.
Well, what is your go-to method of finding other people to do a collaborative project with? I heard you mention Skype in the classroom. I know we've talked about Twitter. Is there any other way that you're finding classrooms?
Through GRA was one. I mean, last year that's how I found those connections, was we just were reading the same book. In fact, today I was on the 14th Goldfish, and some people, I guess there was one from Scotland, and then a couple of us had replied to her from Maryland and California and myself. And then I thought about if we created a group of 4 classes, since we're all kind of in different regions. I went on Edmodo and figured out how to create a group for us to discuss the book, and then we can make small groups to mix our kids. And I thought it'd be fun to name each group after a different scientist that was kind of focused, in the book, and then maybe the kids could, learn about that scientist also, or I don't know. Anyway, I just but through that website, it's very helpful because I teach language arts and social studies.
What you could also do is set up a quad blog. Have you heard about? Okay,
I have.
If you've got 4 classrooms, especially if it's an international mix, that would be a nice way. And you just give each class 1 week to be the poster, and then
that's neat.
Yeah. So I've
heard about it, but I have never done it. So that's a good idea.
So one of the ways I started doing projects back, I don't remember what year it was, but I discovered Jennifer Wagner out of California runs Projects by Jen.
Mm-hmm.
And she does an Oreo project every year, and who doesn't like Oreo cookies, right?
Right.
And I teach math. We had to stack them, and then we had to come up with our class average, and she would put together a wiki or something.
Very cool.
put their all of the results in so that she could figure out, what the average was for third graders stacking, fourth graders stacking, etc. And then as years have gone on with this project, we've done things like I actually set up either Skype or Google Hangout and have my kids stacking against another class. We actually do a licking contest to see who can lick the icing off, and it's really fun to watch that on a video chat. They're so funny, and just to blog about it, and maybe if you can share your blogs out with other people, have them comment on it. So those are some nice ways to get started with collaborative projects in the elementary school. Her projects are just, to me, as a great entry point for someone who's just not really sure what to do. So they should look up Projects by Jen and get started with that. Easy way to do it.
That's awesome.
What was your first
right.
project?
I've done Holidays Around the World, and last year she did one, Gettysburg Address, which was phenomenal.
Yes.
Very cool. I haven't really done collaborative projects. I've really just done the blogging and the Skyping, but I haven't really done a project with another class together. So that's a really neat.
So as an ELA team, well, you did Global Read Aloud. That's
well, yeah, but I mean, besides just blogging, I mean, if there's something more, because I did think that's what I was thinking about this year is with the science focus of the 14th Goldfish, just that we could maybe do projects on the scientists within there, and the kids could work together because they could do on a Google Docs they could share information or do a presentation or something like that.
Maybe you could both, if you found a couple other classes, maybe you could set up an aquarium or something and get some fish eggs and see how long the fish eggs take to hatch.
Or see how fast the goldfish dies is probably more like it,
Okay, we started with 14 goldfish. Now, how long can we keep them going?
Have you read the book?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Because that's the beginning of the story. That's one of the lines about how that's kind of, you'll figure, I don't want to ruin it, but I got it through NetGalley, which is she had recommended, Purnell had put on there, and it took a week to get it, and then I got it, and I
requested them today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my only concern is that I literally read it on my phone, so I don't know how many pages the book is, and I don't know but I read it on my phone in like a half a day. Like it was a really quick read. Mm-hmm. But I'd also read one for the Murphys and was really concerned about the heaviness of that book because I love that book. But I was afraid with my beginning fourth graders it was probably going to be too much too soon. So I think I'm going to try to read that maybe at the end of the year and see if I can find some connections at the end of the year for that book because I like it so much.
Okay, well that's good to know. Yeah, I was kind of, that's Bill and I were having that discussion before you entered into the group with us. Because he was like, well, what book do we pick? And I said, well, I know about what is The Miraculous Adventures of Edward Tulane. But I can't get my hands on the 14th Goldfish because it's not being published. And then I read in the Edmodo group about, what is it, NetGalley? Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Yeah. And so I went on there today, set up an account, and requested, and I'm hoping I get sent one, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, and like I said, you'll read it in a day. I mean, it's really a quick read, so you'll be able to decide pretty quickly. Several of my students apparently have heard the Edward Tulane book. Like I think some teachers read it out loud in second grade. So, and since the 14th Goldfish is very, very new, since we'll have only been out for like a month and a half, it seems like a good choice, I guess. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to do the 14 Goldfish, and I just debating, Paul. I think I might do that other one you were saying.
Hey, can we stop a minute? We have another person who has joined us.
Mary, I just got a message.
Hey, Mary, welcome.
I guess I was a dope. I sat around waiting for my invite for a long time, so I'm sorry. I think I figured
this out. I'm sorry. So, Mary, give us an introduction as to who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm a pre-K to 5 school librarian in the suburbs of Chicago. And I'm really curious, and I'm sorry I've missed like 90% of the conversation, but I'm really curious about time differences. Like, I tried to get in touch with a guy in Uganda, and it was great, except we had to Skype before our school day, and his kids had to stay after their school day. And it just seems like people are making these awesome global connections, but I don't know how people are doing that because I don't understand how you work around the time differences.
It's one of the hardest things is the time difference.
I think more of the global connections are done asynchronously through things like wikis or blogs or things like that because, I mean, somebody either has to get up at the crack of dawn or stay at school past, school hours to make a video conference work. But I know that, the Flat Classroom Project, which has been going for years, they did most of their work through wikis. So, there's other ways to be collaborating with people. You just can't. Or another way they do it too is they send videos back and forth, so you can actually see the people.
Yeah.
But you're not doing it in a synchronous environment. One of the things that I'm fortunate with living in the Central Time Zone is I can do a slice of Canada down through the United States and down into Mexico a little bit in Central America. So that helps.
Mm-hmm.
I have Skyped with teachers in other countries, either where they came into my classroom when they didn't have any students, like from their home, they would join us, or I have actually been Skyped into other classes on the other side of the world. And again, I'm at home. I don't have any of my students, but they wanted to practice some English skills. So it's not so much my kids connecting with those kids.
The Israeli border, but one from which rockets are occasionally.
I'm good, and we got Brian in here now too.
Hey, Brian, we still have something going on behind you, hon.
No, he's having issues with his headphones. He just messaged me. He's working through it, though. So we'll get him in here.
So, one of the things we were talking about, Mary, is getting started, and I think that is probably the scariest thing for any teacher who's never done this, is how to get started. And I started with Projects by Jen, Jennifer Wagner out of California. They're very simple. They're very easy. They're not these big global, got to do all this stuff kind of thing. They're just nice little projects where you can meet a couple other teachers if you choose, or if not, you just have the kids do the stuff in your classroom, and then you add to her wiki or whatever she's put together to collect the information, and it's fun. And Bill, you were starting to talk about the holiday card exchange.
Yes.
Why don't you finish that up? Because that's a great one.
It's one of my favorite projects, and I've done it the last 2 years, and I will be doing it again this year. You get a list of 28 schools.
24.
24. I thought it was 28. Why did I have 28?
Give or take 4. It's good.
Yeah, it's close.
You get a list of over 20 schools that I have my students. There's a theme every year. So last year it was snow globes. One year it was mittens and scarves, and you have a different theme each year. So I teach computers. I have my students create cards using Publisher on using one of those themes. We get other cards that are cut out snow globes, cut out scarves.
Oh, wow.
You mail out all these cards across the country. You get all the cards, and what I actually do is I have a map of the U.S. If I can pull up the picture, let me see if I have it on my computer. And what I do is I put a red pin in for each one where we get a card from. So I have a map of the U.S. with all these different pins. Because the way I actually do it, and I'll just go into that for a second, I have red pins and blue pins. My blue pins are our mystery location calls. So I have this hanging up in my classroom so they can see where we've connected across the world. If I can pull up the picture, if I could find where I have the picture, I'll post it in a couple of seconds. So just give me a couple of minutes to look for that.
I've done that project also, and when you see the kids' faces light up, like every day when I go to my teacher mailbox, and all of a sudden the cards start coming in, it's really, really fascinating. Then she did one at the end of the last 2 years called Picture It, and what she do is, again, it's with 24 classes. She takes some work of art, sections it up into 24 pieces. Your class is assigned one of the sections. You color the section. You mail out, to all the other classes, and then when you get everybody's section together, you put it together, and you have a mosaic that was created by 24 classes. So it's really like I said, they're easier collaborative projects, and I think it's a good jumping off point for people who have not started this yet.
Is it a
And then-
website, or is it, how do you get, is it a website, or is it a wiki space? How do you get to,
projectsbyjen.com.
okay.
All right, I know exactly where the picture is. I just a matter if I could pull it up on this computer or not.
Okay. So
I had
anyhow,
it in my Ignite session.
right, and then what we like to do is like we've been talking about, we're huge about doing mystery location calls because that brings in all of your different standards for English and speaking and listening. It brings in geography skills. It can bring in math skills. You can talk about science, by talking about the weather and the climate. So you can cover an awful lot of stuff by doing mystery location calls. And again, one of the first questions that comes up is, well, how do you find people to do this? Well, if you Google mystery Skype or mystery location, you're going to find lots of sign-up sheets that have been created. Like I'm moderator for Fourth Chat. We have one on our wiki. You can find it through the Skype in the Classroom site. I mean, it's just all over. But of course, like I've always said, my favorite is Twitter. Somebody will tweet out, hey, looking for a class to do a mystery location call with or a mystery Skype call with. And then, of course, you have to email each other back and forth to make sure you've set up a time and that you have, you have the right time zone. And let me just, Bill, why don't you very quickly explain what a mystery location call is in case someone listening in doesn't really know.
Hold on, I was just at the picture.
Oh, well, let me do it while you're looking. Okay, what happens is you have two classes that are connecting. The teachers, of course, know where each other's located, but the students in the class don't. And through a series of questions while you're on the video call, the kids are using maps and hopefully Google Research, Google Maps, Google Earth, whatever, as well as hard atlases and paper maps so they can cross off states as they're eliminated. And as you get answers to your questions, then you're eliminating different states until you finally get down to figuring out the location of the other class. And it's really fun. And when I first did it, I was afraid, if my kids didn't get it first, that they'd be all groany and moany. But actually, the first time I ever did one, the other class in California guessed our location in Louisiana before we got theirs. And as they were screaming and hollering that they got it, my kids were screaming and hollering too because they were so excited that they had given some good clues or some good answers that led them to figuring out where we were. So that's another great entry point, is to do some mystery location calls.
Paul, I have it up, but then I just realized my Ignite session is timed, so it went away. So I'm going to pull it. Can everybody see my screen, or am I not?
Well, I saw it up and then it disappeared, Bill.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Mary, have any teachers in your building gotten into any kind of collaboration?
Can everybody see
we've
now?
done stuff. Now you're sharing your screen.
What are some examples, Mary, that you've done?
Well, we have live Skyped with Uganda, and we have sent emails back and forth and videos back and forth, but they're in a village that doesn't have electricity, so it's a little difficult.
Oh, wow.
I've also, it's so amazing to talk to them live. I mean, we can send videos all day, but the real excitement is when I turned the computer and we showed them our library, and the students in Africa just about fell out of their chairs,
I'm sure.
And our kids were so interested that every single one of them walked a long way to school. It was just a great live connection. We've also done, I posted, the International Association of School Librarians has an annual bookmark exchange where you sign up your classes and get matched up with a school in another country or a class in another country, and then your students make bookmarks around a theme and you exchange them by mail. It's just what you're saying. Is it Paula? I think that, asynchronous and not live and that kind of thing. And our students loved getting a bookmark that they knew was created by someone in another country. So that's really cool. I did find that the postage got a little expensive, though.
Yeah.
It depends on where you're mailing them to.
I got off to a great start a couple of years ago, and I said, oh, after I'd done some mystery Skype calls, I was like, oh, we live in New Orleans. My kids do research every year, research projects about New Orleans. I mean, about Mardi Gras. So we'll share it with other fourth grade teachers around the country because most fourth graders are studying regions in other states. So I put together a Google Doc. My kids got ready to do these presentations. And all of a sudden, so I said, oh, I'm going to mail everybody a little care package. So the care package had a king cake, beads, doubloons, things like that. I had 10 classes. Didn't even think about what the postage was going to cost as I did this, and said, don't open it until after we do the Skype call. Well, the United States wasn't bad, but I had I think it was two in Canada. And each of those boxes cost me like $28 to send. I was like, okay, I'm never doing that again.
Got me. Yeah.
Okay, and Mary, I had to say something real quick. You had said that they were surprised, and you've gone to see your library, and in Texas we don't get snow, and so we Skype with a class in Wisconsin, and we had a similar reaction to. They talked about how they check out sleds at recess, and my kids were like, what? They just couldn't even believe that they would check out a sled and have time to sled, and because we don't ever, snow is just non-existent down here. And in fact, if a flake were to fall from the sky, we would all run outside. Like the entire school of 900 kids would run outside to try to catch, because it's that rare here. So we had a similar experience with a state instead of a country. So.
Right. Exactly, and that's what I'm so excited about is that live connection, and I get it. We have to do things asynchronously. That's just how it has to be. But when you can do it live, it really is amazing.
Well, I love the reaction when we Skype with some classrooms in certain parts of the United States, because I have a very mixed ethnic group in my classroom, and we cover all sorts of nationalities in my little fourth grade class, and we Skype sometimes with schools that are in a rural area, maybe in Midwest Kansas, and they're all children that are Caucasians. They don't have any ethnicities in their classroom. And when we first come on the screen, they kind of look at us and they're like, wait, you're in the United States? And then, once they start talking to each other, they realize, hey, we're just kids. We might look a little different, but we like pizza and we like whatever the popular musician of the day is, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I love. And when they can take your webcam, like Billy showed us snow last year during the winter vortex, because we happened to be Skyping one day when they were going to get out early.
Going on.
Yeah. So he took his camera over the window so my kids could all see the snow, and it was great. When I Skyped in with my buddy class in Kansas, she shows us out their windows, and we're looking at cows in a field. My kids have never seen cows in a field, kind of thing. So it's a wonderful way to get, kids thinking beyond their little environment.
So there are I'm going to just jump in, two other things that I've put in the chat. One is called postcrossing.com, and it's people around the world who are interested in exchanging postcards. And so you can sign yourself. What I did was I signed my library up for an account, and then it's kind of regulated. You sign up to send a postcard to a certain person, and then they send one back to you. And people kind of put what they're interested in, like I'm interested in landmarks, or I'm interested in a 16-year-old girl was interested in just meeting people from America, that kind of thing. So you might check that out as a writing opportunity. And then the last one I wanted to share was this project called Faraway Friends. They used an app called Book Creator, and I saw a presentation on it this last year. It's a class in Chicago and a class in Iceland. And they did all kinds of amazing things using this app. They wrote a book and then they translated it, and they, for each other, with each other kind of thing. So again, like you were saying, Paula, it was asynchronous, but you really should read about that project. It was pretty amazing.
Brian, who's in the Hangout with us but is having tech difficulties and can't talk, put in the chat that his computer class collaborated with a class from Australia, and that they shared pictures of their hometowns on a Padlet. So there was another way of doing a share session. So, we have access to all these wonderful web tools, and, when you put your brain in gear, and one of the things that I'm going to do this year is I'm going to have my kids, I'm going to give my kids the project of, we want to connect with a class in Australia, I want to connect with a class in South Africa, I want to connect with a class in, how could we do that? What could we do? What things could we use? How could we talk to them, meet with them, send them videos, etc., and see what the kids come up with. I'd like them to have a lot more impact onto what's happening from their end. So I can't wait to get that started this year. So we just lost somebody. I don't know the time schedule. Are we supposed to be over and out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
All right. Well, Bill, thank you so much for doing the Google on air for me. It was
problem.
nice to meet everyone in this little chat room. Mary, thank you for those resources. I'm looking forward to checking them out more. And Brian, it was nice to see you, even though we couldn't hear you. So everyone, thank you, and enjoy the rest of Edcamp Home 3.0. Thanks. Bye-bye.